Hello, it's me from the future. Before we get going on this video, I filmed it and then thought, oh, this is quite long, there's a lot to it. So I decided just to say here, there are sections to it, and if you want to fast forward to them, here are some timestamps, and you should hopefully see them down in the little bar below. We're going to dive first into YouTube revenue, how much I earn and why I don't earn as much as other people, what the different sort of ads are and when and how they might pay you, why subscribers aren't as important as you think, and why I sort of tend to ask at the beginning of the video about thumbs up and clicking subscribe and all that bit. Then we're going to go out to affiliate sales. I'm going to base this around Banggood, but it's much the same. It's there basically a catch for getting stuff for free. And my sort of earnings through the year for that. Then we're going to Patreon, why it might not be good for you if you're just starting out, but again, essentially what Patreon gives you and what they take off you for the pleasure of providing that. And finally, I'll be going into my Steam sales, which is probably just something for me because not that many people, I guess, have something on Steam. But again, it's quite interesting to say what was generated, but what Steam take out of that pot for the pleasure of providing you with a platform. Anyway, on with the video. Hello, today it's a bit of a different view. My knee is still recovering from surgery. If you saw the video pre-surgery about what was up my knee, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, don't worry about it. You just came here because the video title looked interesting. That's okay as well. So I'm going to be talking about exactly how much revenue I make from YouTube, but also talking about some other things. People have asked, mostly people say things like, how do you get products for free? So I thought I'd talk about affiliate sales and what is the relationship between companies like myself and Banggood? What do they expect from me? Is stuff really free or is there a bit of a catch to it? Hint, there is. And I'll also talk about Steam. I've put my FPV sim on Steam. Let's see what it's generating. It's generated more than I imagined. I'm really pleased about that. Really quite thrilled, and it drives me on to do more. So why am I doing this? It's a little bit personal, but I've always tried to be quite transparent in exactly what I produce here, and you know, if something's going to earn me money, it should say affiliates, and if something's a review, it should say supplied by, so you know what's happening. And I also got no problem talking about what I'm bringing as revenue, because I do this as a full-time job. It doesn't bring in as much as a full-time job, any full-time job whatsoever at all. So in some ways it's a little bit of information about people if they're wanting to start a channel, what sort of things they should look for. It's not trying to put you off, but at the same time you shouldn't just say, blow the job, I'm going to create a YouTube channel and earn millions, because it's not quite like that. Well, for some people it might be, but certainly not in my experience. So I can give you a little bit of a guide to what I do and what I bring in, then hopefully that might help a bit. So let's start with YouTube revenue, because it's, I suppose, the main factor of having a successful YouTube channel as you bring in money from advertisers. How's this work? And I must say, I was first encouraged to do this because I watched something that popped up in my sort of recommended, you know, you go to your homepage on YouTube, it's got all these recommended videos based on the fact you might have clicked on something once and YouTube is suggesting you watch some more of that. It was by a channel called Jimmy Tries World, and he had a video that said, how much money does my small 20,000 subscriber YouTube channel make? And I thought, that's interesting, because my channel's around 20,000 subscribers. It's at 19,750 something, so a little bit more to go, but very close. And his was like $986 in a month. I was like, what? That's a massive disparity between mine and his. Why is that? Now, he had just had a video that blew up a lot, although his general amount of revenue he was bringing in was much more than mine. I thought that's interesting itself, because some people say 22,000 subscribers equals about $1,000 of revenue a month, and that's, I don't think that can be true, because there's so many different things in the way YouTube ad revenue works. There's a little bit more behind it. So I thought I'd take you behind my information, and I'll show you what I've got there. So on the screen here is my channel dashboard. Now, I haven't put out a video for 18 days or so because I was having this knee surgery and I haven't been able to do anything more. And you can see my last 28 days revenue is $131, which I would call a pretty good month. So why is there this massive difference? And to understand that, first you need to know what type of adverts do what on YouTube. You may have seen when this video started up a a pre-roll ad, which you can click skip on. If you'd click skip and let it run for less than 30 seconds, I don't get paid. Don't feel bad, I skip plenty of videos. You might skip them, you might not skip them. If it runs for less than 30 seconds, the ad is basically for free. I don't get paid. I don't know if YouTube still charges them, but they don't give any money to us. So skippable ads, if you skip them, the creator doesn't get paid unless it goes for over 30 seconds, and that counts as like a click-through, essentially. The little banner ads you see come up at the bottom of the video, you only get paid on those if the user actually clicks on them. And that doesn't involve clicking the close button, of course. That doesn't count. And the same as those ads that sort of appear up on the side here. You have to actually click on those and go through to the ad, and that counts. So the only ones you get paid instantly for are non-skippable video ads, which may play at the beginning or end of a video, and basically you can't skip them, you have to watch them all the way through. We get paid for that. Yay! There's one other thing you get paid for, and that's called YouTube Premium, which I don't know if that's even in the UK at the moment. If I go to my analytics here and look at revenue, we will see we get an estimated ad revenue. This is for the last 28 days, and in there it splits between normal ad and YouTube Premium revenue. YouTube Premium, for those that don't know, is this thing you can pay YouTube kind of like as a service, and if you pay them X amount a month, they don't show you ads. But for those users watching videos, those creators that showed them the videos will get a small share of whatever that money is. I don't know exactly what the share is, but it's fairly insignificant in terms of anything. Of course, people that use ad blockers mean you don't get paid either. And sort of all this culminates. YouTube's very keen on showing the CPM and the RPM, which is basically how much money you generate per 1,000 views. And you can see my monthly revenue is like 105, 114, 112. It went up during Christmas, but it's generally between like $100, $150 tops, with December sort of jumping up. And you can see that the top earning videos over the last 28 days are that much. And we've got the two interesting figures here. This is the playback CPM. This is the cost per mile. This is the amount of revenue per chargeable 1,000 views. But that means nothing, because most of the time people are skipping ads or they're not clicking on ads. And so this is the interesting bit. This is the revenue per mile. This is the actual amount of money you're earning. $2.52 per 1,000 views. And that includes all the non-monetized and the monetized views. So that averages out every 1,000 views about $2. And that is pretty much pretty good. If I look at the 2020 year, my RPM was like $1.48, which again is not particularly impressive. And when I had a look at Jimmy's video, he talked about like an RPM of much higher, up to about $6. And I think this is where the next part of understanding how ads work are quite relevant. So if you're an advertiser on YouTube, you're working on a bidding system basically. You want to run a campaign and you have this video ad or a banner ad or whatever, and you're basically going to say, I'm prepared to put in X amount of money to have this displayed. And it might be 10 cents, 2 cents, it could be even more. And as an advertiser, you can choose an awful lot of interesting information about where you want to target your ads at. Don't forget, Google knows so much about you. So you could be looking for specific age or gender. If you're a parent, are you married? What sort of earning income are you having? What are you interested in? What's your location? All these things Google builds into these demographics which advertisers can target very easily. And I tend to think that the word drone is a little bit toxic for advertisers. And thus, if you've got drone in your videos or as an interest group, it might be doing much worse than others of sort of similar size. Now, Jimmy's channel is based mostly around very popular consumer electronics. As a sort of brand of consumer electronics, there are a lot more advertisers out there, and so there's more people that will be bidding against. And of course, as the video gets more popular, the prices get built up and up and up. Down here in like the drone place, I feel that like an advertiser can put in like minuscule amounts and still get their ads featured. I think that's the difference between drone and consumer electronics. So even if you're talking about number of views and number of subscribers and all that sort of thing, I don't think it really counts that much about how much revenue is coming in. So you might have a 20,000 subscriber network over here that's getting $1,000 a month, and you might have one here that's getting $100 a month. Of course, one other reason that Jimmy might have been getting so much more than me is that he uses mid-roll ads. I had to sit through many to watch his video all the way through, and I didn't like it. I do not like mid-roll ads at all, and I skip them. They annoy me, and that's why you won't see any mid-roll ads in my videos. Now, there's one small caveat to that, because when YouTube decided to change their rules and say, I think it was like, oh, now videos only have to be 9 minutes to put mid-roll ads in, they decided that everybody with a monetized video of 9 minutes or above would want mid-roll ads in, so they just enabled them. So I went and took them all out the best I could, but there's many hundreds of videos stretching back many years, so you may still find some old ones with mid-roll ads in. If you do and they annoy you, please let me know and I will do my best to remove them. So if you're starting out, bear in mind about what your channel's about. If it's about something that the whole world's very interested in, it'll probably generate more revenue than a very sort of niche type of thing like a drone or keeping spiders or, you know, something like that. The more generalized it is, the potential more money you might generate. Although you've got to figure that where you've got a very popular thing, then you may have many more people doing it, so it could be harder to break in. I don't know, I just do the sort of drone thing, so who can tell. You'd think though, as your subscriber base grows, that your revenue grows, and that's true to a point, but you will notice, anybody that's on YouTube, that YouTube don't really care that much about the number of subscribers you have. They sort of started taking away the exact figures and just like, oh, we'll round it up 1,000 and stuff like that. Why is that? Why does YouTube not care about subscribers? Well, first off, they're only interested in how long a person spends watching a video. That time where people are spending watching a video is much more golden to them than the number of subscribers you had, because they know that they have a fixed audience for this amount of time, and in their view it means they can slot in this many mid-roll ads. But the other point of view is subscribers make up generally, and I think this is true of most people, quite a small proportion of your viewers. If I have a look at, oh yeah, it's this one. So this is my audience tab, and this is for the entirety of 2020. And apart from the fact I picked up 3,400 subscribers in the year, and the number of people that turn on all notifications are quite low, 14.3% of all subscribers. If you look down at the watch time for subscribers, and this is the watch time, not the amount of views, the non-subscribed viewers took up 73.6% of all time, where the subscribed people took up 26.4%. So although it's great having a great big subscriber base, because you think there's a certain amount of people that your video is going to be plonked in front of, it's the non-subscribed people that watch more often. And that's why you'll see people like me or other people saying thumbs up, thumbs down, something, because the amount of engagement you have goes into YouTube's special algorithm, and depending on how that works, and no one really knows how it works apart from YouTube, we can make guesses at it. That is the likelihood of it being plopped on someone's homepage that doesn't already subscribe to you, to say, oh, you might like this because this is quite popular and you once clicked on something about this, therefore here, watch a video from Curry Kitten, and they might click on it and view it and still not subscribe. But that's the majority of people watching aren't subscribed, and they're just watching it from their home screen probably. So having subscribers, brilliant, but it doesn't mean that your amount of revenue or watch time or anything is going to grow at the same proportion that your subscribers do. Now, the other thing I'm always asked about is, hey, why do you ask for a thumbs up, thumbs down, click on a little bell if you can find it, that sort of thing at the start of the video? And this came about a few years ago when I hit 10,000 subscribers. I got a YouTube channel manager. I don't think they do it anymore now, maybe they were doing an experiment, and she offered to like analyze my channel and tell me how I was doing and that, and we had some video conversations and we had some sort of group conversations with other YouTubers and other channel managers. It was quite interesting to learn a few insights. And what she said is, you need to do a call out for people to subscribe. And I said, I do that at the end, I put up that card. And she said, you need to do it at the front because nobody's watching at the end, or less people are watching. She's like, trust me, we've done the numbers. You can trust YouTube for doing their figures and knowing about this. If you do that, more people will take notice. So it felt a little bit weird, but it's kind of turned into a thing I do now. And I can sort of demonstrate that in if we watched any video with this engagement thing. So here's like a video. So the Curry Kitten FPV sim release. If we look at this graph here, this is the amount of people watching at the beginning. But if we go down to about like where would that call to action be at the end? Here. There are now 14% of the original viewers viewing. So all this call out to sort of thumbs up, subscribe, whatever, is only going to 14% if you do at the end. So the reason I'm doing it there, and bear in mind, already 40% have pretty much dropped off 20 seconds in. I'm doing it at the front, that's why. That is a very sort of typical graph. Sometimes you'll see it pop up a bit, and we often see it where we're doing FPV videos. Can I find an FPV? This is how much flying I've done lately, not much. So if you see it just pop up a bit, like there I'm in beta flight, it pops up there because I'm actually outside and flying a quad. You see that a lot. If I'm doing a review, I'm talking about the technical details, I'm going into beta flight, it's going like this, and then it goes up again. This is people basically scrubbed through, and they're like, oh, it's back here. So YouTube sort of can detect the fact that people didn't watch that bit, but they watched that bit, so the graph goes up, down and back up again, which is weird stuff. Anyway, that's YouTube. Now, the other thing we should talk about is affiliate marketing. How do you get stuff for free is what I'm always asked. And I said there was a catch because it's never free. First off, it's no charge to you, but there is a cost, and it's your soul. No, it's not quite that bad. Any company that is wanting to give you stuff to review is not interested in it for terms of publicity, or because they like you, or they want a video made about it, or they can't be bothered to produce an instruction and they want you to do it. They're only interested in sales, sell-through. That is pretty much it. So people like Banggood, and we've had various sort of Banggood account managers, I suppose you could call them, that will talk to us and say, oh, we can provide you with this product, can you give us a review? Generally speaking, they're looking for every $100 of value that they send you, they want to make between $500 and $600 back. And if your videos aren't making that money, you will find out that they're not wanting to send you any stuff because it's not worth it for them. Basically, they've done this sort of calculation, and they're like, well, we could show sort of display ads in YouTube and spend some money on that, but if we can get this to a reviewer and it will cost us $100 for the item plus shipping, and then they sell 5 or 6 of them, then we can make back more than if we did the same advertising and expect the same amount of click-through. It's as simple as that. It's simple economics. Now, it's not always this friendly. I'll pop this up on my screen. I got this from GearBest just a few days ago. When does this come in? 31st of December this came through from GearBest affiliates. We used to work with GearBest. Lots of us doing reviews did. GearBest had a real problem on prices, where their price was always higher than everybody else, but they're like, oh, don't worry, use a coupon. It's just put your price lower. And then they'd say everything's in stock when it wasn't, and people got very upset with them, and we got all a bit fed up working with them, and then they sort of dried up. They suddenly just came back out the woodwork, it would seem, and I just got this quite unsolicited mail from them saying, hey, we have some budget rules, and they're saying $50 worth of product if you can get $500 sale from them. So they want a 10-to-1 ratio. That is the highest ratio I've ever heard of for these guys, which is quite tricky. So it's really good fun to get these things through and be able to review them, because it's fun doing review videos, and it's great to get these new toys and go out and fly them and stuff. But there's a kind of catch to it, and the catch is that if people don't like them and go and buy a bunch of them, then you won't get any more through. And that's fine when the product's really good and you think people are really going to enjoy this and they're going to buy it, then that's good and you'll get new stuff through. If it's a dog, and I've certainly had some dogs before, and you say don't buy this under any circumstances, that's not so good. But you know, I wouldn't say anything but don't buy this if it's not worth buying. Although you will see me if something's bad, I say, this is a much better alternative, you can buy this. It's kind of my workaround, if you like. There's also a bit of an issue with like high price things. So if you get like an amazing $500 quad fruit review, which might be absolutely stunning, you say, this is amazing, everybody should have this. Well, when it's a high value item like that, it's going to garner less sales. If it was like a $10 item, then lots of people would say, oh, this is quite cool, I could buy that, that's like pocket money type stuff. But when it's very expensive, although it might be much cooler to have and mess around with, it means that it's harder to generate revenue from that. And especially when you've got so much competition, so many other people are doing similar videos to mine, they're doing reviews, and typically companies send out the same sort of new product to lots of people, and so you've got competition. Sometimes it's a big rush, who can get that out there first to generate the revenue. And it's like, it always seems a bit weird to me, because I would never expect someone to watch my video only and say, well, he summed it all up, I'm buying that. I'd expect people to go off and watch videos from other reviewers to see how they felt and see if they had any different opinions, and sort of get a general overview from lots of different people about how it was before anybody got it. So the fact that people buy stuff based on clicking on my one, I don't know if that's because they're being kind or it's just luck. I was like the last person they came to check it out in more detail. I don't know. I do get slightly annoyed with some people saying this is an honest review, like they have to say that. Are they trying to insinuate that other reviewers aren't honest, or what? I've got into the habit of trying to be as transparent as possible. As I say, whenever you see a review from me, it will say this product is supplied by this person, and if it's an affiliate link, it will say this is an affiliate link, and I tend not to shorten the link so you can see exactly what it is. That's just me. But I also won't go around saying this is the most amazing thing ever, that you should buy this, if it's not, because let's face it, who would trust me? For the second time I said, this is the most amazing thing ever, let's buy it. So if I do say it's the most amazing thing ever, in my opinion it is. But as I always say, don't trust my opinion, check out other people. With that said, what's the situation with Banggood at the moment? I talk about Banggood because that's where I get most of my stuff from. It's pretty dire, actually. This is what you get as an affiliate report. So in the last 28 days, sales of somewhat disappointingly $556. It does drop over Christmas. And if I look at commission over that period, ooh, 25 bucks over 461 valid orders. So if I look at valid amounts, it looks like this. These are sort of orders on a sort of day basis, and commission looks like this. So a good day we're like $9.20, and a bad day we're at $0. Now when I started doing that back in 2017 with significantly less subscriber base, I was getting between about $300 and $500 in a month on commission. These days it's more like $100 a month. If I look at the commission report and say let's look for... At this point my camera cut off for a few seconds before I noticed it, but what I'm doing here is pulling up the commission report for October of 2020. So $138, about sort of typical, quite high for the month. It's been around 100 to sort of $130-ish all during 2020. It's been very disappointing. And the fact that I'm earning less money on there means that what Banggood do is they drop your affiliate rate. They say, oh, you haven't been earning as much, therefore we're dropping it to sort of 6% instead of 8%, or I think it's even dropped lower than that. So your ability to earn via them is even harder, which is difficult. I don't know why it's dropped. Perhaps it's because there's more people like me doing this, and of course there's more of you guys shopping around. Perhaps the pandemic has had an effect. More people are buying direct from the US, where you can get some decent suppliers now that are doing a lot of stuff and you don't have to go through a Chinese warehouse. Certainly anybody that had such a big store locally probably wouldn't want to buy from China, because it's like 2 weeks and stuff until it gets here. So yeah, I can get why, but it's weird. It's again what you expect. Like, I'm earning $400 a month now at 6,000 subscribers, so as my subscribers go up I expect my revenue to go up. Doesn't necessarily happen. So now let's talk about Patreon. Patreon is something that's very big with a lot of YouTubers who sort of were doing well and then got upset about the adpocalypse part 1 or 2 and sort of encouraged everybody to go to them. Some people use YouTube memberships. I haven't done that, but I have done a Patreon page. And the idea here is that people who are fans of what you do and want to support you in what you do financially will back you with a certain amount of money every month, and that is your sort of guaranteed income. The idea that doing that could free you up from having to do some of the other things you might just focus on money making and free you up to be sort of more creative. So Patreon isn't, I guess, for someone who's just starting out on YouTube, because it's kind of something you have to have once you've built an audience who really like what you do. And I had to say I was a little uncomfortable with it at first, especially being very English. It seemed a bit uncomfortable for me to say, if you like what I do, could you just give me some money? But essentially that's what I did, and I've got a Patreon page and I've got a couple of levels of membership, and I've always kept this again public, so you could see I've got 44 lovely patrons at the moment. I call these guys the rock stars because they really are. They are essentially people who really don't ask that much of me. They are just supplying me with a bit of finance very kindly, and I try and do as much as I can extra. So I give them sort of update videos. I always try and post videos early. I give them a little bit more behind the scenes about what's going on and stuff. But yeah, essentially they're amazing, and they're a lovely community of people who are just basically sending me some cash every month to say this is really cool, carry on what you're doing, which is still amazes me every day. That said, if you do the figures in terms of what people are paying versus what you're getting, something's not quite right. As you see here, I've got 44 patrons, $117 a month. If we look at how that breaks down, what Patreon actually does, there are fees involved, and there are fees to be aware of. So this is like my Patreon earnings, and it goes up and down. There's people that have been with me a long time. Some people pop in and they just wanted to do a donation of like a month, and other people, you know, their financial situation changes and they leave again, and you know, all good. I really, anything anybody can do in this just staggers me so much. I'm not expecting anybody to stay there, especially if they can't afford it, because that would be bad. But anyway, you can see aside from like the earnings going up and down, there is like a refund section, which I don't seem to get ever, and then there is an earnings before fees. So what are the fees? So Patreon to have a platform fee where it's like, well, anything you earn we take a cut of, and then weirdly it takes money for paying you. It decides that if it pays you PayPal, it wants to charge a fee, and there was some, I think, Payoneer or something that still is fee based. So the actual money we were bringing in on like January, it wasn't 117, it was 131, but like about 12 bucks of that went just in fees for actually existing. So that is one thing to be aware of. But yeah, I love the Patreon guys. I love chatting to them and posting little updates and stuff. I just hope I do enough, and of course, if you want to become part of that wonderful family, I'll have a link down below. I'm shamelessly going to plug that if you want to do that. These are also, you will see that my earnings overall, I'm not exactly falling into a massive profit here. So if there is anything I need, it generally comes out of the Patreon money. Like if I want batteries, if I've got projects to build, like the OpenHD system, this all came from sort of Patreon stuff. The rest of it I kind of shove into the sort of the family stuff, for me being essentially an unemployed bum, as my wife would probably call it. But there you go. Anyway, that's Patreon. Moving on. So the last thing I had to talk about in terms of, it's quite personal to me because it's a new revenue stream that I suppose most people wouldn't have, is via Steam. As many of you know, I developed an FPV sim. For a long time I had that on GitHub as a free, in fact I still have it there as a free thing. But for people that were sort of less au fait with computers and were having trouble just sort of getting a zip file, unzipping it, installing it properly, especially if they had things like later versions of macOS which really did restrict on what you could run, I created the Steam version for people that could just be able to click on Steam, get it for a nominal fee. I think it was $1.99, and it would automatically update and they wouldn't have to mess with it ever again. Now, people have been kind enough, I think, even the ones that were happy getting the free version, to sort of say, hey, this is pretty good, we'll chuck you a couple of bucks here, and we'll buy the Steam version and we'll have the automatic updates. So this has gone a lot better than expected. But I just thought I'd show you some figures, because you can see exactly what Steam takes. If we have a look at this bit here, this is a Steam sales report life to date. We've sold 618, chargeback returns 30. So chargeback or return is, I think if somebody buys something on Steam and they use it for less than 2 hours and say don't like this, they can give it back and get the money back, which is perfectly fair. I wouldn't want anybody to keep anything they didn't want. So my net units goes down to 588. So the gross Steam sales are just over almost $1,200, $1,185. But then Steam collects VAT, and then Steam takes its share of the $264, and I'm left with like $706 out of that, like nearly $1,200. So they take quite a whack. Yeah, quite a whack. The good thing is, because it grossed over $1,000, they gave me back my original Steam Direct fee. You have to pay $100 to list something on Steam. So they gave that back. And you can see down here that sort of the monthly payments are going, well, sort of $100-ish mostly a month. And that's pretty amazing, because normally with Steam, you build up stuff at the start and like, look at this wonderful game I'm releasing, it's going to be amazing, and you get this big jump in sales, and then it drops off like a stone, because it's sort of, people have done it and got it. Whereas this is sort of I'm still developing it, obviously, and trying to put releases out there as much as possible. So it's become quite a steady stream, which is nice. Which means when I'm done with it, it means I'll definitely be going into and doing an Android and an iOS version for people who want to play on like tablets or phones and stuff. Yeah, thanks for that, people. And that's it. That is my revenue. Now, that is, as you can see, not enough to live on. And I'm very lucky in the fact that we're not doing this as me to try and bring in a large amount of money in the household. It basically much works in my house that if I'm free to do some household things and do the school runs and things like that, it works a lot better to let my wife get on with the much more important job that she has, and I get to do this, fiddle around with the house, cook the meals, take the child to school and back, and it works for me. But of course, if you wanted to get into YouTube, get into this sort of thing, then hopefully you're a little bit more armed with knowledge about what you want. And I always suggest that you go for it and you do it, especially if it's a passion. But it has to be a passion, because as you can see, you're not going to be instantly drenched in riches. If I earned no money from this at all, I think I'd still be doing much the same thing. Perhaps not quite as many hours as I do currently. But I find it fun to make the videos. I enjoy the coding. I liked getting new stuff in to look at because it's really interesting. But if you are going to get into this, then don't just like drop everything and do it. It's something you can do as your sort of side hustle, if you like. You can start making your videos. You can start building an audience. If you get sort of really successful in what you're doing, even without people supplying stuff for nothing, they will come and find you. Believe me, I get so many emails on a daily basis from weird Amazon sellers that say, please can you review my golden cutlery set, and bizarre things like that, which I just ignore. Yes, as soon as you start getting one or two decent videos, people will notice, people will get in contact, and then you might start getting stuff you want to for free, if that's the way you want to go. But at least you'll start building your audience, you'll get to know your stuff, advertisers will start putting stuff on there, and if you get big enough and you're happy with the revenue that comes in, then you can think about maybe getting rid of your day job. But bear in mind that at any point all of this can change. Banker can turn around and say, we're not talking to you anymore, we don't care about this. I could get no sales on Steam, and YouTube could completely change their ad revenue, so I could get nothing. So it's all a little bit of a gamble, but if you do it, have fun with it, And I hope this has been helpful. I'll catch you next one. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.